are we saying that we now need to introduce training courses that are more patient-centric? And why I say that is, I saw the other day, there's a documentary around menopause that has been accredited such that doctors or any healthcare practitioner who watches this documentary can get their professional development points from it, right? But it's a documentary from a patient perspective. Right? So how do we retrain practitioners? Because they need to understand, from what I'm hearing, from a patient community. How do we get them to understand that?
In the US, for you to do medicine, there's what you call pre-medicine, to test and see, is this the life you would want to follow? In our Kenyan setting or in our African setting, it's not the same. So people are pushed into their career. Actually, I have one friend who is a general surgeon in Busia, and he regrets why he went to do medicine. Actually says, if you'd come back in another life, you'd not actually follow that path. So in essence, it's like he was pushed into it.
An estimated 1.1 million Kenyans fall into poverty each year. And that's because of healthcare costs. Would SHA, SHIF, UHC change that, or is there more? Or perhaps, what's the difference between a pharmacy with a Blue Cross and a Green Cross? What about cancer and the rising incidence amongst the youth? Is it just lifestyle changes, or is there more? Women's health, men's health, your children's health, the economy, this and more awaits you on season 2 of Kenya's favorite health podcast. My name is Dr. Diana Wangari Gitau, and welcome to season 2 of the One Health Lens podcast. Hello, welcome to the One Health Lens podcast, where we have conversations around health and related topics, making them simple and easy for you to understand. I'm your host, Dr. Diana Wangari Gitau. Today, as always, we're having a very important conversation around have Kenyans lost trust and faith in the healthcare system. So maybe let's talk about the solutions, right? How do we claim what was ours? Because it sounds like the mistrust comes from, there's a disconnect between what was truly African practice, right? This community approach to every other element of healthcare, education, and, so how do we reclaim what's ours? What do you think we need to do?
I think it's so important to become curious about what's around you, how things work. Like, we have so many resources. If you look at, let's say, the Abadeas alone, that is a God-given natural resource of medicine, natural medicine that we are ignoring. But we now have the capacity to Google, to research. We have people who live out of the country. We can access labs out of the country. We have the capacity now, if we want to send our own knowledge out of the country to be verified, at the same time to document what our grandmothers and grandfathers are saying, to continue speaking our languages, to document our languages, to speak to each other, to become friendly, to really now retreat into the cocoon of being an African and saying, I have these 20 different things that grow around me. What are they for? How did my grandmother use them? What can I do with them? Who can I speak to? Where can I write it down? Who can I teach? Each one teach one. So I think for us to harness our resources and actually to capitalize and commercialize, and at the same time retain and retrain and become who we really need to be. Because without our own medicine, without our own food, without our own ideas, our own ideologies, our own language, it's like we're slaves to everybody else. Other people tell us how to heal ourselves, how to have our babies, how to educate, what language to learn, how to do business. It's everywhere. I mean, this kind of like this shroud of foreign activity around us. The Chinese are doing it to us. The Indians are doing it. Everyone but Africans have their own pharmaceutical and pharmacological knowledge about their own healing tradition. So I keep asking myself, even if you say that you want pharmaceuticals, big pharma out there to come and validate our traditions or our health or our knowledge or what we say, if we have morobaine, we first need somebody who lives in America who has been to some institution to come and say, oh, this morobaine is very good. Yes, this is medicine.
Yes.
But for us, it's not medicine until somebody else says it is, even though it's been treating us for thousands and thousands of years. So when will we develop our own knowledge systems and bring them at par to that global level? Only when we take this as very important.
Okay. I mean, Cairo, you are particularly vocal. Vocal around how healthcare practitioners interact with patients.
Yeah.
That at some point you've said we have become too technical,
Yes.
and we've forgotten why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is for human beings, right?
Yeah.
And we have totally disassociated the human element, and it's almost as if we are all just speaking to each other, right? Why do you say that? Why do you seem to say that healthcare system has failed patients? Healthcare practitioners, rather.
They have, because when you look at how it has been structured, you see the healthcare providers, they look like a godlike, which is very wrong, because you find even the time there was the doctor strike, the nurses strike, even the practitioners themselves, they also already feel, because power has been given to them by the big pharma. The power has not been given to them by the people. We need to differentiate. You see, the medicine man in the African setting, power was given to him by the people. They said, we look at you, we see you are doing good to our community, so they empower you, the community. But the current system, the power that you have for you to be called a doctor, for you to be called a nurse, for you to be called a pharmacist, it is power given to you by those who set up the institution, not the community. So when someone is given power, they'll come and lord over. You see, the doctor said so. So you have to follow me because I am the doctor, I said so. But now the question comes in, where does the patient have room to speak up and speak their mind? Where, there are places, one of the patients said is that, these doctors always tell us what to do. They see us like we are not intellectuals, or we don't have knowledge of, or we do not know our bodies. I remember even in Parliament, one of the member of Parliament, I think it was Millie. Millie, she said, I am no gynecologist, but I am a woman. For the mere fact I am a woman, I understand my body better, because I remember one of the other MP was trying to say, let Dr. So come, because he's a gynecologist, he's better placed to speak. And she stood and said, I being a woman, I understand my body better than Dr. whoever, I don't remember the MP, but he was male. He doesn't understand my body. So it is me to guide him and tell him what I, as a woman, I go through and experience. So with that, you see already that there's already a dissociation. So in actual sense, for me, how I view it is that they should understand they are part and parcel of the community. It's only that you have chosen a different dimension of how to give back to society. Just like the way a teacher chooses to educate, you have chosen to treat people. Another person has chosen to be engineering. Another one has chosen to protect the people through justice system. Another one has decided I'll be an entertainer to make people laugh and be happy. So each person, it's the empower given unto you. And there's a reason why, like the village entertainer it's the power given to you because the moment people don't laugh at your jokes, they have moved the power away. So because of that kind of lording over, because I'm the doctor, I said so, follow the rules. I remember there's a patient, we were discussing this in a classroom and said, you go to Samburu, you are a doctor there or you're a nurse there, and you tell the pastoralists, take these tablets with a lot of water. These people, when is the last time they found water? So you can imagine the disconnect. In actual sense, you should sit there and ask yourself, in this a pastoralist, water is very scarce. What could be the alternative? Is there a plant that maybe within the community, when it's cut, has some liquid in it, and you could actually, you get you're connecting with the community. But you have already said, take this tablet 3 times 3 with very water and a heavy meal. This person eats once in every 3 days. You get the disconnect. and when the patient tells daktari, but sina chakula, daktari, hiyo ni shida yako mama, mimi nimekutibu, wendo, you get that.
I'm getting that. What I'm wondering is, then what is the solution around? Are we saying that we now need to introduce training courses that are more patient-centric? And why I say that is, I saw the other day, there's a documentary around menopause that has been accredited such that doctors or any healthcare practitioner who watches this documentary can get their professional development points from it, right? But it's a documentary from a patient perspective, right? So how do we retrain practitioners? Because they need to understand, from what I'm hearing, from a patient community. How do we get them to understand that?
So for I'll give my points, and maybe Harriet can chip in because of the flow of thought. In the US, for you to do medicine, there's what you call pre-medicine, to test and see, is this the life you would want to follow? In our Kenyan setting or in our African setting, it's not the same. So people are pushed into their career. Actually, I have one friend who is a general surgeon in Busia, and he regrets why he went to do medicine. Actually says, if you'd come back in another life, you'd not actually follow that path. So in essence, it's like he was pushed into it. So for me, for career path like medicine, nursing, let it be from, actually, I'm interjecting. There's somebody who said, a B student who loved to be a doctor, who maybe went through that time, I know there's the new university model, that time they would call parallel degree. A B student who scored a B went through parallel because he's passionate about this thing. They end up becoming better doctors. They are able to, because it's something they were passionate about, and they love the people because maybe they are more social. In comparison to someone who scored an A, they were told by their teacher the only respected jobs in this country is being a doctor. So the person scored an A, went in, did medicine, but now he realizes he's not a people's person. But now, because you struggled training for 6 to 7 years to get that degree, you realize, I cannot go back, I have to do it. So they end up being very toxic to patients. So I would say, before anyone ventures into these careers like medicine or education that deals with the nature of human being and the social being, I would prefer they do a pre-test, so that you engage. And then we need to show people, you don't have to be a doctor to be well off or to have a good status in society. No, we have to deconstruct that. You see, that's what I'm saying. They put a god over, a lord over, where they say these are the guys, you see. But in our African setting, the medicine man was a normal villager like everyone else, only that we say this is your specialization. So let's do a pre-test for everyone who is going to pursue that career, so that they would willingly love. Number two, it will even reduce what you call mental fatigue. All the way, most of the doctors are stressed 24/7, because when you're in the wrong profession, it's true, it doesn't negate because you went and did teaching or any other, makes you a dunderhead, not really. So the reason why you'll be stressed 24/7, because you're in a path that was not even meant for you, because you are not even destined to even go to do that path. So let's have coaching and people to mentally coach these people who want to pursue it. Actually do, even if it's a pre for 1 or 2 years, and they're able to engage with people, with hospital. Do you like blood? No. Are you ready to bear the medicine drains you a lot of energy, because people are bringing you with their problems. Do you have the mental capacity, the emotional capacity to actually accommodate those stresses that people are going to bring on you? So if you don't have that capacity, it's going to drain you. Number two, we need to introduce mental health in our institution. I think this is something I really advocated for, even for students in medical schools. Mental health should actually be included. How do you self-care mentally as a healthcare provider? And then when it comes to the work formula or the work structure that is set up in our hospital, you see now recently Dr. Mora killed herself. That tells you emotionally she was drained. She's working around hospital, and if you have worked around a hospital, it's never moody. It's never a happy feeling. So if you're a happy kind of a person, it drains your emotions. So how do you set up systems to ensure this doctor, this nurse has a place to relieve out, has a place to offload? It's called offloading. So if we set up those structures, I believe we'll start introducing the human angle to it. That's one. And then number two is the doctors should be told it's not just ticking the boxes. It's not, sometimes it's the workload and all that, but now we move away from African kind of medicine that it was structured, it was doctor-centric. Now, let's move to patient-centric. Let there be what we call teamwork. Or where I say a patient has walked in, you as a doctor, you don't go and do it alone. You will call the nurse, you will call the pharmacist, you will call the lab person, you will call the nutritionist. You'll even call a father there on the board, and you'll come surround the patient and say, how do we go about these things? But you see, you have put all this pressure on one person to make the decision for this one patient. I've seen in the UK, they introduced that consortium. They call it a consortium. So a patient comes in, there's a consortium. People discuss it. It relieves you of stress. You don't have the burden to be solely the decision maker. Eventually, the doctor will have to make the decision. But they have been helped by these other individuals who have come and surrounded.
Multidisciplinary teams.
Yes.
I hear you. I mean, Harriet, as a final point, so how do we make it more human-centered? What do we need to do?
I think there's a process of unlearning going on right now, demystifying, humanizing, just based on demand. I think even we're having this conversation today because people, customers, clients, patients are asking for more, and when you don't give them that kind of service, they're avoidant. So you see, doctors are now saying we have so many people who don't come to us, they go to Mama Botanicals. Why? I was in a doctor's group.
Mama Botanicals.
I was in a doctor's group and someone was saying, I don't understand why everybody keeps going to her instead of me. And I did 1, 2, 3. And I said, maybe it's just you're not fun. You know, just a simple thing. Maybe you're not fun. Maybe you don't give enough information. Maybe you're using the terminology that is so difficult to understand. Maybe you're just giving bad news, gloom and doom. Maybe you're not giving any hope. So I think now, finally, doctors are beginning to ask themselves, what do we need to do? Even now, I have a dentist who told me that they have redesigned the whole experience, even when you go in and the music they play and where you sit, and even how the chair looks.
And the TV.
Yes, and the TV, so that you're not scared of going to the dentist. And they have this new system where they talk to you for 20 minutes first to explain to you what's going on in your mouth. And then after that, they debrief as well. So I actively seek out my dentist saying, every few months I must make sure that I'm not going there with a mouthful of cavities. So I think it's the same with doctors also, the emphasis on prevention and nutrition, because I think it's also completely left out. You know, like literally your lifestyle matters. So let's do what they did, as you mentioned, in ancient societies. In ancient Egypt, you paid the doctor to keep you well, as opposed to you paid the doctor when you were sick. So the doctor's job is to make sure nobody's sick. And that's a very different incentive model compared to what we have now.
Fair enough. I mean, Carol, last statement.
I get where practitioners may come from. I remember one pharmacist told me, I don't like these people doing mwarobaine. And I asked him why. Because how does that medicine person or herbalist know the right amount or the right quantities? Then you see, that was a fear, because they felt, what if you overdose, or what if there are those herbs that are very toxic and only a small portion should be used, so how do you regulate that? Then I told him, then there is nothing wrong with the moraboine. The only thing is, can we integrate whereby they can be guided? I like the way AMREF did with the midwives or the traditional birth attendants. They did not remove them. They realized these are the people the community goes towards. So what did they do? Why don't we teach them safe practices? So you bring those traditional birth attendants, you tell them there's HIV, AIDS, don't use the same razor blade to cut the cord, always use a new razor blade. If you find it's a big complication and a mother is bleeding, then refer. You see, you're integrating modern medicine to what has been existing. Now, that is now making it human. You get, but now it had reached a point. Traditional birth attendants are witches. Those people should be excluded according to our policies and all that. So we should now bring in our policies, bring in the pharmacist on board. So if it's Harriet, she has come up with these Arrowhead kind of products, bringing a pharmacy, and he should not come with the mindset or indoctrination of the big pharma. No, we are looking at, is it working? Yes. How do you feel if it's extended on this angle? It is going to be poisonous to the human race. Then you direct, so the people continue consuming the product. They have interacted with it. It is beneficial to the community. You have also used your knowledge that you have studied in school to actually and enable this. So I believe we can always find an integration, in a mix. I know it's not not favorable because I know the concept of the modern medicine is human beings are the human farms and you have to make business from them. And yet the people who are the herbarists on the other end is preserving life. And actually the fathers of medicine, their aim was do no harm but save life, and that is our role. But now the kind of way we are doing it is that so long as we make our money, we don't care whether that human being survived or not.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Integration. Harriet, we're still nominating you to the committee.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, there's a lot there, and I feel like we need to bring even patients to just come tell their story. Because at a certain point, as you're saying, I've undergone multiple surgeries, right? Nothing seems to be working for me, right? And I have found something that's working. It's worth listening to what's working for me, as opposed to this is the standard that you've been told you need to follow, right?
Yeah.
So, ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And welcome again and again. Yeah?
Thank you.
Asante sana.
And thank you for joining the One Health Lens podcast. See you next time.